On today's episode, we are recreating viral TikTok DIY decor ideas that are kind of have a spring flair to them. But first, let's talk about this top. Is it pretty or pioneer? I'm kind of on the fence, so let me know in the comment section below what you think of this top. Our first viral TikTok inspiration comes from, well, I can't say her name. I'm just gonna put it right here because it's a little too close to swear and I'm not sure if YouTube is going to flag me for it or not. Anyways, it's a fantastic idea. The idea is that you take some dead branches and you glue on some flower petals to create like cherry blossom type branches. It is super cute and it kind of gave me the idea, let's make an actual kind of cherry blossom tree from spring. So how I did this is I went outside and I cut a branch off of my dead tree right now, and it was one that I could spare. I pruned it. And then I needed to put it in a vase, and I already had this concrete pot from IKEA in my stash. I hadn't used it for a while. I like it, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to use it. I took some Dollar Tree floral foam, couple of pieces of that, glued it into the base of the pot, and just to give it a little bit more stability, I tucked in all these empty grocery bags around the perimeter of it because they were two squares, and I wanted it to, you know, give it some stability first and not have to use a ton of rocks, which is what I added after the fact. I took some Dollar Tree rocks and covered up the kind of ugly mechanics of the whole thing. Then it was the most beautiful evening I had seen in a very long time, and I decided to take this DIY out poolside so that I could enjoy the weather. And all we're gonna do here is we are using hydrangeas from Dollar Tree. These are a really pretty pink color. They've really improved their flowers. And all we're gonna do is pull off the petals all the way and take individual petals, kind of bunch them up, and then we're gonna hot glue them in just random spots on our little tree here until it looks like a cherry tree. Now they do sell some cherry blossoms. I was able to find some, but not enough for the entire tree, and the TikTok video actually used these hydrangea petals, so let's get gluing them on. Nothing can break me. I also did some where I put the glue on the petals and pinched that around the branch. That was actually a little bit safer for my fingers. A little less burns that way, but I kind of rotated back and forth, kind of depending. I just kind of let my creativity go wild while I took in this beautiful evening. And also while I was spending a few hours doing this by the pool, I had my son out there and he was doing his homework. That's a day in the life of a DIY mom, DIYing while helping him with his homework. And it was just a lovely evening. It was super easy to do. There was a couple of spots where I felt like there were branches missing, so I broke off some smaller branches and glued that to the bigger branch and created this beautiful tree. When I got all of the blossoms on how I liked it, then I took a hair dryer to kind of blow off a lot of the strings. It kind of makes it shrivel up or blow away. And then of course I went back in and plucked off all of those little, I don't know, hairy cobweb-like things. We want this to be a spring DIY, not a Halloween one. So we got to get rid of the glue cobwebs. And when it was finished, I am telling you, this might be one of my most favorite Dollar Tree, $1.25 tree DIYs that I've ever done, because it was really amazing to go from like a dead branch, adding some petals on it. It really does feel kind of like a cherry blossom tree. I don't know, they kind of remind me a little bit of sweet peas. They are beautiful. I love this tree. It is so pretty, and I probably got the whole thing done under $15 to $20 just because of the container that I used. You could go a little bit less expensive on that. I found some really good pots at Dollar Tree too. There's a lot of options on this. You could make it as big as you want or small as you want, scale it down. I think it would be really beautiful for weddings and baby showers. So there's a lot of possibilities with this DIY, and I just love how it turned out. But what do you think? Okay, so you'll find as we go through these TikTok inspired DIYs that I'm gonna take a whole bunch of liberties, and that's okay. I'm just taking inspiration from them. Some of them are gonna look really close to the original, and some of them I'm gonna take some liberties on. But our next TikTok inspired DIY comes from Glam Decorbiness. She made the most beautiful pink rose arrangement. I loved it. I thought it was just stunning and super easy. And we're gonna make it now, and I'm gonna just kind of tell you as we go along how I made it differently. So I'm pretty sure that she got her pink roses from Hobby Lobby, and that's where I got mine. I got 5 big bunches. Now 3 were of one kind, and they ran out of her original kind, but I felt like I needed more. So I went and I got 2 additional ones that were really close. You can almost not tell the difference. And yeah, so we had like 5 big bunches, so it's like 5 dozen roses, pink, really pretty. But I start by pouring in the white rocks that she got from the Dollar Tree, and I put that in first in our like globe vase, which was also from Hobby Lobby. And I poured in the white stone first very carefully, and then here's where I'm going to do it differently. She uses clear glue in the base of her vase, and it is very economical. I found a big gallon of it on clearance at Walmart for $15, and so I decided to try it out in last week's episode where I did a peony arrangement. I have to tell you, I'm not a big fan of using the glue for a couple reasons. First of all, I made that arrangement for last week's episode a couple weeks ago. The glue is still not dry. It's starting to dry, and now it's starting to cave in, and so it's like kind of sinking in and like shrinking up a little bit. For those couple of reasons, I'm like, I just am not going to do that. I've used kind of the fake water in the past, and that's the route I decided to go this time around. I couldn't find any of the fake water kits, so I ended up getting some clear epoxy resin kits. I had one on hand, and then I bought an additional one. I didn't know if I was going to need 1 or 2, so I just went ahead and I put in both parts, mix that up really good. Make sure it's thoroughly mixed in. It usually takes a couple of minutes, and then I poured in the first one, and then I mixed up the second kit, and then I poured that in next, and it kind of settled in over our white stones. Then I wanted to do the arrangement. It's really simple, really simple. If you're not a good floral arranger, this is going to be easy for you. I took some clear tape and created a grid because I knew with a kind of the wide globe that it was going to be really not wanting to stay into place. So I made a crisscross grid, and then I kind of shrunk it up a little bit around the edges by adding a little bit more clear tape. And then I just put the whole bunches in just like she did and stuck it into our epoxy resin. Now ideally what I like to do is do the arrangement first and then lift it out and put it back in, but just because I needed to do the grid, it wasn't going to work out. So I did have a little couple of bumps with the epoxy resin, which I wasn't thrilled about, but it is what it is. And then all I did was just kind of tweak where the roses sat, and that's it. Super easy, and it is beautiful. Oh my word, is it pretty. I love this DIY. Now this one is kind of a little bit expensive, to be honest with you. I got everything on 50% off, but it still added up. I don't know where I ended up, but I'm gonna guess that it's in the $50 to $60+ range. It was more expensive to do the epoxy, but if you're using coupons and looking around for a good deal, it wasn't all that much more than using clear glue. And I figured if I'm gonna invest that much money into roses, that we're gonna do it the way that I'm used to doing and go with that direction. But isn't it gorgeous and springy and fun? I love it, but what do you think? And how do you think I did compared to her TikTok? Hers is very, very beautiful. If you're liking what you see so far, let me know in the comment section below, and also hit that like button. It helps me to know that you like this kind of content and that I can do more of it going forward. And if you like what you see in general, I would love it if you hit the subscribe button. Our next TikTok inspired DIY comes from Glee Spin Designs, and it was really cute bunny art picture. I'm going to take a little bit liberties in the color, only in the fact that hers is pink, and we've already had 2 pink DIYs, and I didn't want this to be turning it into a Valentine's episode. This is a spring DIY one, and so we're going to take liberties on that color. But first, let's get started on the DIY. And I had this thrifted art piece that was in my stash. I just found it at the thrift store, grabbed it, and it happened to be about the right idea and scale and all of that. So I disassembled it. I opened it up with a razor blade, kind of opened it up, took out the glass and set that aside, and then went ahead and painted everything, the frame and even the art, out white. I just went ahead. I'm like, I don't really like this art, so I'm just going to use this instead of using something else, and painted it all out, 2 coats of white chalk paint, and had a nice fresh slate. So then here's where we're going to switch out the color. I decided to use a seafoam craft paint, and I did 2 coats of just a random brush on, about the same as they had. I thought this was really cool, and I let this all fully dry. Now it was time to reassemble, and I decided I was going to put the glass back in, and it was tricky getting the glass out in the first place, but getting it back in was super impossible, and I ended up breaking the glass. Oops. But I was very careful to clean it up really, really well and make sure that everything was safe. But it was a bummer because I had this brilliant plan in my mind that I was going to reassemble everything and put the bunny on the outside of the glass, so that if I ever wanted to switch it out, I could easily do that. That wasn't going to happen, so we got rid of the glass. Then we cut out our bunny design, which is a standard one that I found on Cricut Design Studio. They must have 2 because it's the exact same one. I just searched up geometric bunny and it popped up, and I cut that out, and then of course weeded it and used some transfer tape to transfer it onto our now glassless art mat. So I peeled it off. It looks really cute. I really love how this turned out, and honestly, I'm really loving how all of these are turning out today. It's really cute stuff. I got good inspiration from all of these amazingly talented people. I love the little pop of blue. The blue is in my other spaces in my main floor, so I thought this would be a nice touch, and I really think this is cute. What do you think? For our next TikTok inspired DIY spring themed, it comes from the Magnolia Mercantile, and it was really cute. She had these carrots that were made out of wood, and she used a stencil on them, and anyways, super cute. Here's how I did my version. The first thing we need to do is head outside and cut down some of my scrap wood. To accomplish these carrots, we need to get a little powerful. It's not scary, I promise you. We're gonna use a miter saw. Super simple. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, I've got 2 scrap pieces of wood here. One's a little bit taller, one's a little bit shorter, this one's a little bit fatter. We're gonna turn them into carrots. We're gonna find center, mark it, and then we're gonna go from corner to that point and make a mark, and then we're going to cut them down on my miter saw. Safe is sexy and a little bit clearer. So to turn on our miter saw, you pull back the thumb and grab the handle at the same time, and that turns it on. And now that we know how to turn it on, just keep your fingers away. And we're going to just move this miter to where it kind of lines up with the cut that we need to make.
I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. Try not to hold me down, feel alive when I'm in.
Now that we have our carrots cut out, I just went ahead and took a hand sander and kind of sanded everything down so there was no rough corners, and smoothed it out a little bit. Okay, so now that we have our carrots, we are ready to go. And I kind of muted down the color of the orange from the inspiration one, just because I thought it would look better in my palette. And I used like a coral colored craft paint, did 2 or 3 coats to make sure I had really good coverage. Let that fully dry. So then I went and I designed a couple of carrots, and I will include these designs in the description box below. So if you want to do the carrots and you want to cut them out in vinyl, you can do it. But what I did is I found a damask pattern. I kind of cut it out in the carrot shape, and then I found a cheetah print and did that. Instead of doing them both the same, I decided to do one and one another. I cut it out on my Cricut machine, created the stencil, weeded it all out, used the transfer tape, put it down, and then I painted the orange color, which is something that I always like to do, that's underneath, so when it bleeds, which it always does, it bleeds that orange color and creates a nice crisp line. Then I did 2 coats of white chalk paint over the stencil, let that fully dry, peeled them back, and voila. Very cute, huh? Wasn't that a fun design? In the inspiration one, she ended up using some boxwood as her little stem for the carrots. But I found these greeneries at the $1.25 tree. And I decided to pull them all off, and I used 1 bush for the 2 carrots. But first, in order to attach them, I took out my drill with a pretty large bit and drilled a hole in about center. I didn't measure it out. I kind of eyeballed it and it was fine. And then I just took some hot glue and shoved these kind of fern greeneries into the carrot. Honestly, I think these greeneries look a little bit more like carrot greenery. I had something that even looked like it more, but the price on this you can't beat. Like for these 2 carrots, including paint, supplies, and everything, because it was scrap wood and because it was like a $1.25 greenery, I think I'm into both carrots for about $2 or so. I mean, really inexpensive, and they are so they're so designer. And I think they're super adorable, super great for spring and Easter, and I love it. I love how it turned out. But what do you think? All right, I had a lot of fun recreating DIYs that I saw on TikTok. There's a lot of talented people out there, and they gave me good inspiration. I had a lot of fun putting my take on their versions, and I hope that you enjoyed it. If so, here's another one that I think you'll like as well, and if you haven't done so already, consider hitting that subscribe button right here. It's super easy to do, and I would love it if you joined the DIY Niner family. And to all of my DIY Niners, I just want to remind you that you are more powerful than you know. We'll see you next time. Bye.